listening to Eric the Travel Guide, the podcast.
Well, here we go. I love this music. I can't stop talking about it because I love it. Any second now, we got the doot-doot-doos coming. That means it's time to talk travel. Yes, it is Eric the Travel Guy, the podcast, and we're back with you once again. Incidentally, it is March 11th, 2020. I'm looking at the clock here. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. I think that's relevant because these are troubled times for travel and tourism trade. Note my T alliteration. But they are not unprecedented times for travel and tourism. They're not. You know, what's interesting here about the coronavirus, and gosh, it only took us, 25 seconds to say the words coronavirus. But that's what we're talking about, and we do need to talk about it, and it will be part of our show today because, of course, if you want to go all coronavirus all the time, there's certainly plenty of news, information, sources that you can go to. Your local newscast, network news, newspapers, radio, podcasts, whatever it is. And certainly this podcast, we will do our best to give you the latest. However, I will tell you this. I would encourage you to once again seek out the official information. And what I mean by the official information is if you're not clear as to what that would be, that's totally cool. Start with the CDC. That's the Centers for Disease Control. They're down in Atlanta. Of course, they have a website. It's easy to find. Start there. I think that's really important to continue if that's information you are looking for. This podcast, however, which is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you get your audio deliciousness, what we're going to do here is help you answer some questions like, what does this virus mean to me and my vacation? And I don't mean to, once again, I've said it before, and I'm more than happy to say it again, I refuse to dilute the seriousness of this issue as it pertains to health and wellness by speaking about vacations. But the reality of it is that's what this podcast is about. That's what Eric the Travel Guy is about. And there are some serious ramifications to consider as it pertains to airlines, cruises, theme parks, annual events, business travel, the destinations themselves. Nobody really thinks that, gosh, sort of New York City, San Francisco, Miami, they're kind of immune to, they're so big. And no, when business travel drops in these towns, I mean, that's a big deal. It has huge economic impact. So we're going to cover some of that today. In addition, we're going to answer questions like, is it safe to travel for you right now? And of course, we'll get to the answers to that. And we're also going to uphold my promise to you that we will always take you someplace on this podcast to help you make some decisions and make educated decisions as to where to go and what to do and how to get there. Today, we're going to take you out west to absolute paradise in the state of Oregon. That would be the Dalles. I'm probably mispronouncing the name, but Jim is here from the official Tourism Bureau, and he will help us a little bit. We'll shift gears just a little bit after the break and talk about that particular destination. In the meantime, I thought it would be best to start with Andrew Kalb today. He has been with ABC News. My gosh, he was with them for more than 20 years, and he's a good friend of mine. God bless the wonderful work he's doing. Now he kind of keeps track of the media for us because heaven knows I can't keep up with all of it. And Andrew, it's nice to have you here today, sir.
It's great to be with you, Eric. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I do, not only you are a breaking news kind of guy. I mean, this is what you did for so many years. And I was curious, first off, is the media driving this? I don't want to call it hysteria because I'm not really that dramatic. But is the media driving this coronavirus story?
I don't know if I would characterize it as driving this coronavirus story. There obviously are so many outlets out there that some may be pushing harder than others. But, let's not forget what the media's role is with this. And when we use the word media, that's so massive.
Yeah.
It's to share information. It's to bring some context information. It's to not necessarily help people, but it's to provide them with information that individuals can hopefully make the best decision for them and their loved ones, and what may be the best for one family may be a little bit different for another family.
So, but on that very note, doesn't that kind of fit into, and I don't fault the media for this. I mean, it is their job. I mean, the media companies, certainly big ones, small ones, conglomerates, it's not as if they just set out to say, well, we're just going to offer 24/7 news. Sort of the public, and certainly with the advent of the internet, began to sort of demand that over time. And so now we're faced with, NBC News and ABC and Fox and all the other ones are faced with, my gosh, we have to provide information on an almost on-demand fashion publicly. And so, again, you look at something like this, it's like I can't fault them for covering the information. That's the information that's available about this particular virus.
You bring up a really good point. There's so much information out there, and everyone has access to a lot of information. And the same information that an ABC, an NBC, a CNN, a Fox, a BuzzFeed, it doesn't matter what source, the same information they have access to, you and I and Mary have the same information as well at our fingertips. Look, there's information at Johns Hopkins University. They have a tremendous database of numbers. Mm-hmm. And you and I, sitting at our computer at home, just like people in the big newsrooms in New York City and elsewhere, can access the same information. What the networks can do and what others can do is bring context to that story, can bring some help. On CNN, there's fantastic Dr. Sanjay Gupta, on ABC, Dr. Jennifer Ashton. Yeah. All the networks have medical experts that hopefully will bring some information and help people understand what those numbers and what the information that's being disseminated by the CDC, as you mentioned before, by the World Health Organization, by the National Institute for Health, and make people understand it. So yet again, individuals can make the decision that's best for them and their loved ones.
I was under the impression you were going to give short answers on your appearance today, Andrew, but no, that's fine. No, I agree. I mean, look, I'm really glad you mentioned that too, because that goes back to the core of this particular story, and this particular virus is the unknown. It's like the flu. We know about the flu. We know what it does. We know the stats on it. We have history with it. We know the same with H1N1, swine flu. We know all this information. The problem is, not only do these media organizations have an obligation to present the information, they also have to present the notion that there's still some things we don't know yet until the vaccine is created. Is it going to be a winter virus that's going to essentially just kind of disappear in the summer months? Is that going to be the trend? They don't know yet. And I think that also has something to do with our own psyche. So we may only take in 10 minutes of coverage. We may only read 2 or 3 articles and then move away from it. But our own minds are like, well, shoot, should I get the hand sanitizer? Should I stock up on the toilet paper? Like, that's part of the hysteria, and that's not the media's fault.
It's not the media's fault at all. It's the unknown, as you said. It's definitely the unknown. Yeah. We know about the flu, and we've been dealing with the flu, and we get our flu shots every fall and early winter. With this came out there, and people were like wondering what to do. Right. Can you touch that pole on a subway train? What is the right thing to do, or what is the thing that you should not be doing?
I agree. I mean, that, and again, we're certainly not making light of this story, because it's really important to understand that there are serious health ramifications to this story. At the same time, the economic impact of this story could be potentially devastating to the travel and tourism industry. And I'm really glad, quite frankly, that I wasn't doing a podcast recording session between the 2 announcements from the federal government talking about the cruise industry. I was very irritated that our vice president came out and said, yeah, we really, you shouldn't take a cruise. The fact that he even said that it's a big deal. And of course, within a matter of, 48 hours, they walked that back and said, well, we were just talking about essentially the elderly with underlying medical conditions. Isn't that kind of what happened there with the cruise industry?
No, that's exactly what happened, Eric. And what we saw yesterday in Miami, at the Port of Miami, or Port Miami, it's the largest passenger port in the world. Yeah. 7 ships left yesterday, and people were waving, and they were having a good time. So that's always important as well, that life does have to go on.
Right.
And we saw Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute for Health, say yesterday, look, if you're a healthy young person, there's no reason. If you want to go on a cruise, go on a cruise. But also use common sense when you're on that cruise or anywhere else for that matter, and make good decisions for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's the most important, that is the takeaway here. And I think that that message is resonating with consumers. I think sometimes people say, oh, the public, they're kind of a dumb masses and this. I don't actually believe that. I think people are very smart. I think people are concerned for, obviously, their families, their friends, their employment, and, being able to, earn a living, collect a paycheck, and pay our bills. Essentially, that's what we're trying to be the best people that we can be with, and dealing with whatever is thrown at us. I mean, look at the media attention that was given to the tornadoes down in Nashville. There was only so much they could do because, again, natural disaster. It happens all the time. News has to report it. But then they had to return to coronavirus because it's another, it's just a bigger, nastier story that's going to go on for quite some time. And let me ask you this, in your opinion, and based on what you've seen the experts say, is it safe for people to travel?
Yeah, it's safe, but make smart decisions when you travel. That's the key. If you're going on somewhere, look, I saw the other day the dirtiest part of an airplane is the tray table that you bring down.
Yep.
So if you're going to get on a flight, you know what? Wipe that tray table down.
Yeah.
Things like that. It's important just to take that extra second to do that. Right. I was on a flight, about 4 weeks ago, and that was the early stages of what we were seeing with this. And the lady next to me said, would you like me to wipe down your table for you? And that was very nice.
Wow.
And that reminds me, whenever something like this happens and we have a disease like this or a natural disaster like you mentioned before, we see the goodness in people also. And let's not lose that sight also. So everyone's going to help each other out. We see corporate America hopefully is stepping up. We see companies that are going to offer those that need to stay home or self-quarantine. Hopefully they're going to be compensated for that time, obviously, particularly those who may be an hourly worker and so forth.
Yeah, I agree. That's such a good point that the human decency, comes through. It shines through, and the resources shine through, and our ability to bob and weave, our ability to, this entire country, including corporate America, including state and local governments. I mean, it's so funny, like these states, they have to declare a state of emergency. And even that kind of feeds into our whole, like, oh my gosh, is it a state of emergency in this particular state? Well, maybe not necessarily, but they have to declare that in order to trigger the access to funds and resources. It's the infrastructure that we have in place. That's what we have to call it. Just because two people came down with this virus in this particular state does not mean it is a state of emergency. And the vernacular is important because, let's face it, a lot of times we don't pay attention to the details. But these governors, that's what they have to do. And you see that state government working together with the federal government, regardless of your politics. And that does pertain to, look at what Cuomo did here in New York. He said, this is kind of a big deal in this particular area. We're going to bring in the National Guard. And why are we bringing the National Guard in? To help us. Not to quarantine us, not to restrict us, not to, set up checkpoint, but to help with food delivery, help with ... I think that is a great point that you mentioned.
Absolutely. And that's just what we have to deal with right now. And this too will pass. This period of time will pass. So we know if it's going to be 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, or 6 months, that's the unknown right now. But right now we have to do what we believe is best. And when I say we, the state governments, local infrastructure, the federal government, they have to do what they believe is best and hopefully have the right information behind those decisions to make those decisions.
Well, again, we're certainly not altering our travel plans. I go back on the road next week down to Louisiana with a full crew of people to shoot Beyond Your Backyard, another episode for our PBS TV series, also available on Amazon Prime. See how I did that shameless plug right there, Andrew? It's 'cause I'm
well done.
Thank you. It's because I'm a pro. I mean, that's all there is to it. Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. What do you, I can say that on my. Randy's looking at me like you are an idiot. Well, it's my show. I can say whatever I want. But of course, the point is, I was on the phone yesterday with the Carnival Cruise folks, and we're supposed to go to Mexico in another 3 weeks, and we're not going to alter our travel plans. We're going to be on United out of JFK over to LAX. We're certainly going to be staying in a hotel. We'll be in Ubers transporting, our crew as we do, and I'm bringing my children. And I think that's another point of we want to keep everybody safe. At the same time, we don't want to, lose sight of a bigger picture, which is, look, are you going to cancel spring break? Are you going to change your spring break plans? Are you going to change your summer plans? And those are real issues to consider because again, you said it earlier, Andrew, so eloquently, and I agree with you 100%. I believe that everybody listening to the sound of my voice and everybody who is planning on going somewhere, they need to make those choices for themselves. And I think that's important.
And related to, look, we've seen the big three airlines, Delta, American, United. We've seen other airlines, Spirit, so forth and on. They've made changes to their loads. They've cut domestically flights. They've cut international flights, and that's just based on fewer people traveling. That's good business. It's smart. No one has said you can't travel.
No, and let me tell you something. We all love to hate the airlines. I mean, they know it. We know it. We also know, you may not think about it this way, but the airlines know something about us. And they have the data that says we have no real brand loyalty, certainly between the big three. We'll jump ship to another flight over $1. So they are I don't want to say they're in a tough position, but they're certainly in a better position today than they were in 2007. The airlines really learned a lot from that economic recession or downturn, whatever you want to call it, from 2008 that was devastating to our economy. And the airlines learned from that. And you know what? They don't get any credit for that. They're burning through cash reserves like nobody's business because they have to, but they're prepared to do so. And I think that's a really interesting point in that United Airlines is not going out of business. American, Delta, Spirit, Southwest, all the big ones. The smaller ones, they're a little more at risk, the JetBlues of the world. But they're going to stay in business as well, and that pertains to the international carriers as well. But yeah, of course they're going to cut capacity, not because they can, but because nobody's buying tickets. Well, sure, park the plane then, and let it go, and wait it out. And that's the other thing. The airlines, same with the cruise industry, they are very good at handling these types of viruses, and I mean very good. Because, again, back to the reason you're here, Andrew, here's the news media. They have to report when the plane crashes. They have to report a neurovirus outbreak because that's the nature of what a media outlet is. It's news, apparently. What's not news is how many cruise ships sail every day around the world without the neurovirus. That's not news. They don't report it. They know, and that's what they're supposed to do. Nobody wants to put that on the news. Same thing with an airline. So the airlines, I think they're doing a good job thus far, don't you?
Absolutely, and they've been very fast to react. Now, have things been perfect?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Are people very upset? I'm quite sure that they are.
Yeah.
But I believe they're doing the best they possibly can during a tough time. And quite honestly, it probably will get worse before it gets better. We're going to see numbers rise of people with the virus. Yep. Just because more people are being tested.
Right.
If more people are being tested and more positive results will come back. Just naturally, that's going to happen just based on the numbers and the math. More flights will be canceled. But no one is saying shut down air travel. And that's a key thing. No one is saying that. Thankfully, no one is saying that because it's not just the planes that are flying. It's all the trickle-down economic impact that would have.
Yeah. Well, again, talk about, it's buyer beware. And I hate to say it that way because you can certainly boil it down to that. Buyer beware. And I don't mean about the airlines or the cruise industry or hotels or places that you go or travel. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the media. Listen, ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox News, all of them are here to, A, provide information. And what? Make money. That's their job. Mm-hmm. They're not. It's not. This is not a non-for-profit organization. So be aware of the information that you are being served by whatever outlet you choose to participate in and read. And I mean that sincerely because, again, look at that New York Post story that came out over the weekend that said this virus is going to die sooner than you think. Now, why in the world would they write a story like that? Was that based in science? Was that based in their opinion? Who knows? The point is, the New York Post decided we're going to write a story saying, everybody calm down, this thing's going to go, this is going to blow away. Why? Why did they write it? I don't know why, but they did. And I think you're going to see more stories like that because I think one of the things we know about the American population is we do fatigue pretty easy. And that media, we talk about that media spotlight, that spotlight does move. And it too will move off of this story. And we're going to see a little less of the outpacing of the fear and the hysteria, a little less, and we're going to see more of the actual virus spread as it will. That's science. They know that it will. Mm-hmm. You just mentioned it. But maybe we can sort of temper the hysteria that is being driven by the media. And that's a good thing.
And we know over time, people are resilient. Yeah. Life goes on.
That's right.
People need to get their kids to, certain things in school and work and shopping and all those things go on. And that gets us back to travel. While things may be pulling back, and we've seen airlines say, we're going to lessen our load by 10% in the month of April, 15% possibly in the summer and everything. But you know what? People will still travel. And I got to ask you, Eric, what are some of the things that folks should do now, planning ahead? Is this a good time to plan that vacation later in the year or possibly even looking ahead to 2021?
Wait a minute. Who's doing this interview? What are you asking me for? I don't know. No. You know what? That's a really good story that's a really good question because it really does depend. People ask questions like that all the time, like, where should I go? And usually that kind of question garners a lot of questions that I would have, which is, well, what type of vacation are you trying to plan? When do you want to go? What do you want to do while you're there? And then you've got some options, whether it's all-inclusive or cruise or a road trip or a European trip, a South America trip. I mean, there's a lot of options. But look, I think right now it absolutely is a good idea to start looking around at if airfare is going to be a part of your next vacation because, frankly, you don't want to drive to Nevada, fine. If air is going to be a part of it, start looking right now. And I would start looking in every couple of days, start identifying those airlines that go to places that you are considering going and see how that price fluctuates. Because what I'm interested to see, first of all, they cut capacity on airlines, right? So they cut the flights, so it's supply and demand. So now we have fewer seats, which is fine because we've seen plenty of pictures of 25 people on a plane that seats 300. So, okay, fine. And listen, United can cut 20% of their domestic schedule, and it's a drop in the bucket compared to how many United flights there are. I don't have that stat in front of me, but it's a lot. And so, okay, that's what they're doing now. Even Lufthansa cutting their schedule by 50%, their entire group, which includes Swiss and others, even cutting 50%. There's a lot of air still available. So I would say start looking at those prices now and pay very close attention because remember I said the airlines are burning through those cash reserves, and I'm not saying that they're all doing it at the same pace, but they are. That's what if they're not generating revenue from people booking flights or baggage fees or buying booze on board or lunch or whatever, if that money's not coming from there, or there's certainly a huge reduction, then that cash has to come from somewhere because they didn't change their business overnight. It still costs essentially the same amount of money to operate that airline today as it did 3 days ago. They just don't have as much money coming in. But I say pay close attention because airlines, they're going to have their own line of demarcation of like, okay, now we really need to entice people to get back on these planes. And we need to stop worrying about how much we're getting per seat and make sure that our load factor is where we want it to be at any cost. We don't care. Put them in a seat for $50 if need be. Put them in a seat for $20 on a seat that's normally $130 or $170. You know, I think they're all going to arrive somewhere, and it's all going to be individual. So you also pay attention to the carriers that you fly on that fly out of the place that you live. Philadelphia is a great American town, for instance. Pay attention to that stuff because I think that's going to go on in the next couple of weeks. In the cyclical nature of travel as it is, you know, without this virus, spring break, summer travel, everybody gets back to school in September. That's as simple as I can make it, right? So if companies are saying, listen, we're going to start scrapping our summer plans and cut our losses and move on to the fall, the other thing that I would be doing immediately is booking your holiday travel if it's not already done. If you haven't already booked your holiday travel, you need to do it immediately. Get it done because those prices, they're going to try to preserve that travel season to the best of their ability. They're going to try to preserve the dollars they normally would make in November and December and January. So that's one of the things I would tell people to do right away. Can we cover it?
I think so. I think we put a lot in there. A lot of two guys talking, actually.
You know, that portion of our interview that we conducted with our face masks on, it was very hard to hear, so we cut that out. I think that's...
good. The muffledness of that. The muffledness
shout out to her here. Thank you for that. Andrew, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Thanks for keeping an eye on the media. It's not an easy job to do, but I'm so glad you do it, and it's something you love to do, so thank you for doing this.
Absolutely, Eric. Anytime.
All right,
I will be there for you.
Thank you, buddy. We're going to go out to the Dalles. We're doing it. It's going to happen. You probably never heard of that place, and that's a good thing because we are going to fix that today. Jim is here from the Official Tourism Bureau. Stay with us. The awesome music is rolling. It is Eric the Travel Guy, the podcast, and we will continue in a moment.
You're listening to the Eric the Travel Guy podcast. You're listening to the Eric the Travel Guy podcast.
Welcome back to Eric the Travel Guy, the podcast. My goodness, I love the music. It's very flowy today. I dig that. I'm working with this. That's nice. Well, it's only fitting because we're headed out to Oregon to the Dalles. Jim Viejas is here. Jim, thanks for being here, by the way.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I can't wait to talk about this state of yours out there. Now, we need to get a little specific with Oregon. Where exactly are we working with? Help me out with geography. Let's start there.
So, the Dalles is located in the Columbia River Gorge, right on the Columbia River, about an hour and a half east of Portland, right at the tip top of the state.
Nice. And how long have you been there, if you don't mind me asking?
I've been here about a little over 3 years.
Perfect. So then you're going to love this question because I would imagine, you know, we have these marquee destinations around the world and certainly in this country and certainly within your own state. And then when you say where you work, people go, where is that? What is that place all about? So how do you describe this place to somebody who's never been there?
I'd say, honestly, the first thing is history with a capital H.
Wow. Why so?
Town's been around since the 1850s. It was a Native American trading hub for 10,000 years before that. Lewis and Clark came here twice. You know, I could go on and on and on and make everybody go to sleep with all the facts, but, you know, the baseline of the town is founded in history.
Perfect. And honestly, I think that's one of those great points. It's like, well, you can't really understand, you know, why does this exist today without going back into history anyway. So that's a pretty cool place to start. I always like that. So you and I are going to get along great. So this is going to work out. All right. So we're grounded in history. When somebody shows up today, what are they going to see? What are they going to feel?
I'd say they could definitely feel some art vibes. We have a thriving art community, and not just the typical, you know, murals, which we have plenty of, art centers, which ours is located in a Carnegie Library, things like that. We're host to the National Neon Sign Museum. David Benko, the curator there, he's got the largest collection of neon signs in the world, about 300.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
He also has, it's pretty cool, I talked to him about this recently, he has one of the original neon light tubes from the 1900s he brought over from France, and he has that on display as well.
Holy monkeys, that's cool.
Yeah, still working, which is amazing when you think about, you know, technology at the time.
Right. And, well, just getting it here, for heaven's sakes, over time. Mm-hmm. Like, my gosh. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, what's the population?
It's about roughly 16,000, 15,000, around there.
Got it. Why do people come?
I'd say our weather. We have 300 days of sunshine. Since we're located on the east side of Mount Hood in Oregon, we kind of get that rain shadow effect. So the further east you go, you get to a certain point where the rain goes away and you're just left with beautiful sunshine.
Mm-hmm. How far from Mount Hood?
We're about, I'd say, by car, maybe a little bit over an hour 10, depending on traffic.
Now that's a great point. Depending on traffic, what kind of traffic are we working with there?
You have people heading up to ski resorts, road traffic due to backups if the weather conditions aren't that great. So kind of depends on how everybody else is behaving on the road.
Yeah, right. It's usually about someone else. Let's face it. It's usually we can probably get it together. Somebody else is screwing it up for us. Well, I think it's
most of the time.
Well, it's one of those, and it's one of these destinations that I really like to get into because again, you start talking about, okay, give me 5 reasons to get on an airplane and come there. And that's a real, you start to really, we only care about, drive market. No. This is a worldwide market and people come from all over the world to your place and they come for various reasons. And are they doing kind of a hub and spoke kind of a deal? What are they doing while they're there?
I'd say hub and spoke, definitely. I mean, they'd stay overnight in the Dalles, hit up some of the museums, our wineries, our breweries, and then there's plenty of good outdoor activities here. Well, hunting, fishing, biking. We have some of the, pardon my French, but we've had some magazines out of Portland call us the best damn gravel bike riding you can get in the entire state.
Ooh, it sounds messy to me. Sounds a little dusty to me, but okay, yes.
Just a little dusty, yeah.
But there is something to be said for even somebody who listens to a statement like that. They say, I'm going to get on a bike and I'm going to get on gravel. Even that sounds like, okay, well, that's not as approachable as I would like it to be, yet you have other trails as well, don't get me wrong. But nevertheless, becoming almost one with the surface of the earth is kind of a cool thing. And doing that on a bicycle, on gravel, is one of those, it kind of gives you that rugged feel, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I think that's kind of the big thing with the people here, especially coming as a, from out of state, is that everybody here, they got a little bit of grit, a little bit of dust, but they're grounded. I mean, agriculture is huge in our area, geologically speaking, to the point that, our cherries are used in Ben and Jerry's Cherry Garcia ice cream and a host of other products.
Wow. I'm having some of that right now. How did you know that? Man, you are good. You are good. I had no idea. That's cool. It is true because, again, we talk about the diversity of some sort of a trip there. And would you say average night stay to get the flavor? No pun intended. Are we talking a couple nights? Are we talking 3 nights? What do you recommend?
I'd say, honestly, a weekend to get you started. But once you get the taste in your mouth, you're going to be back, once a year, twice a year, depending on the season you like. Fall and spring are some of the best. Summer gets a little warm, but there really is nothing better than getting that sunshine.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because peak season for you guys, what do you consider peak season?
Pretty much summer. Yeah. As soon as school's out, all summer long up until end of August, beginning of September.
Got it. And then your value season, because then you got winter sports as well. How does that play into if I'm going there to ski? What am I looking at?
Yeah, I mean, our kind of shoulder seasons, off seasons are end of September all the way through to end of February, beginning of March. Because of our distance from the mountain, a lot of people go out on the water still for some winter fishing since we have it year round, and head a little bit south. We got some great hikes, snow parks, and other areas to hit up for those winter sports.
Again, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because this is one of the things that I like that the internet has done for us is sort of level the playing field in terms of, you can line up your place right next to 8 other places that look and feel nothing like you, or some that do, and people are always looking for quote unquote, something quote unquote, someplace new. When in fact, you're not new. You've been around for, now, granted, you're not 1500s, you're not 1700s, okay, fine. But, mid-1850s, not bad in terms of a little staying power out there.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we've had our roots down for a long time, and Dalles is dependable, so, why not come experience something new, but it kind of gives you that homey, cozy feel at the same time.
Yeah. How about families? Are we dealing with enough family activities? What are you working with in terms of families?
Family activities, I'd say highest discussion point there is our Columbia Gorge Discovery Center.
Yep. On
the west end of town. It's an amazing museum, goes through the entire history of our gorge. They have a woolly mammoth display in there. They do raptor shows with birds of prey, all kinds of great family education and food to be had.
Got it. All right. See, I'm already thinking, again, it's so easy. And people say, oh, I've never been to Portland, I should come to Portland. Yes, you absolutely need to see Portland. It's got its own vibe. It's one of those towns that really is, I think they did a really nice job of carving out their true identity that is not only legitimate, but also interesting to all walks of life, to literally just about anybody. So anybody that says come to Portland, I say absolutely you should do that. But you guys are really doing something that's completely different, which would make for a really wonderful complimentary trip, wouldn't you say?
I 100% agree. I mean, we're barely an hour and a half down the highway. Great views on both the Oregon side and the Washington side. And at certain points, you can even get on and drive the historic highway.
Oh, wow.
From back in the day and take that little bit slower of a cruise, but beautiful scenic route to get to town.
Well, and you never know. Maybe we should just do Christmas while we're there. Why not?
Yeah, that'd be great.
you guys throw a pretty fun Christmas get together, from what I understand.
Definitely, yeah. We've in the past we've actually hosted the Christmas tree heading to DC.
Yep.
For the Capitol Christmas tree, and then one of our local artists tying back into that, Andy Nichols. He does an amazing job with glass blowing. He does glass fish that are gorgeous, and you can come in during the winter season and do an ornament with him or one of his staff.
Now,
incredible experience.
I realize you are with the official tourism bureau, which means you love everybody in town. Can you tell us where we're going to stay while we're there?
I'd say, yeah. I mean, if you want within walking distance of downtown, the Dalles Inn is a great spot, or Cousins Country Inn. And then if you want like a little bit more privacy, a little bit quieter, more relaxed, Celilo Inn is up on a hill on the east side of town. They have fire pits outside, great rooms, and an amazing view of the river, which, if you're here, you might as well have that.
Got it. And where are we eating, if you don't mind me asking?
I'd say it depends on. I mean, are you a pasta guy?
Okay. Have you seen a photo of my waistline? We'll send that right over. It's a little early for obvious questions, but okay.
Yes. Yeah. So for pasta, we have Baldwin Saloon. They hand make it all right there in their kitchen, fresh daily, and it's some of the best pasta ever. And that's me coming from the East Coast talking about pasta too. So the seal of approval.
Yeah, right. I was going to say those are fighting words. So everybody calm down. Brilliant. Jim, thank you for doing this today. I really appreciate it. And I think in our next call, maybe we should talk about Dallas, Texas. Maybe we should do that. Or maybe somewhere else around the world. We could just pick a place and throw it on the map.
That'd be great. Yeah. I'd love to throw some facts out there and maybe do a little quiz.
We could do a quiz. What is the official tourism bureau for you guys? What's your site real quick?
If you want to hit up explorethedalles.com and also use Explore the Dalles for our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Okay. We always love pushing out some of our local amazing things.
Absolutely. We know Mark Zuckerberg needs more promotion, so let's make sure we get him in. Sure. See, you dance with the girl who brung you. So, all right, Jim, thank you for this. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Appreciate you having me. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. You absolutely will. And don't forget, everything that we talk about is all backed up at ericthetravelguide.com. Thank you for listening to the podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're happy to be there as well. And, of course, on our YouTube channel, you'll find all the videos we do. Oh, my goodness, and so many of them. It's another week that has gone by. We're going to keep it together. We're going to hold tight. We're going to stay strong. And once again, I'll see you again on another edition of Eric the Travel Guide, the podcast. Thanks for listening. Never miss a video just like this one. Be sure to like this video and most importantly, subscribe to my channel. It may not mean anything to you, but it means everything to us. Oh, and you can sign up for my newsletter. Every month, you'll receive exclusives reserved for those on the inside.